Hello everyone, it's Clarissa and today I'm going to be doing my October book haul. I just got all of these books today and I'm kind of frustrated because I ordered all of these books from Book Depository on September 1st and today is October 1st, so it literally took a month to ship. If you didn't know, Book Depository is kind of like a UK based version of Book Outlet, if I'm correct. There might be some differences in how they acquire their books, and they said that it was going to take 8 to 12 business days and it took literally a month. I'm not going to blame them though. I mean, they are shipping overseas and it's probably likely that all the books are going to get lost somehow, but I mean, it was just not a good time. One of these books I actually received like 5 days earlier, so I already started reading that, but the rest of these just came today. So yeah, and also look at all these books I got. All of these books were a total of like $31, and honestly, Book Depository, you might take a little bit longer than acceptable to deliver my books, but your deals are really good and that's why I keep coming back to you. So yeah, it's kind of a love-hate relationship. Oh, anyway, let's get started. So the first book I have here, I already mentioned that I'm about 2/3 and I'm on page 270 and there's about like 450 pages. So yeah, I'm making my way through it. And I'm making my way through it. This book is The Unseen World by Liz Moore. This book takes place in Boston during the 1980s, which I think is really cool. I always love reading books that take place in the 1980s, but the thing is, sometimes they really make that aspect of the book like really obvious, and it's just like really cringy because like all they make are 80s references and it's just like really in your face. But I like how this book makes the time setting very integrated. You can tell that they're living in the 80s by like some of the references. They're living in like the beginnings of like the computer and laptop revolution, so that's really cool to see, but it's not really in your face, and I really like how the characters are just like normal people. They don't use like 80s slang all the time, which is just like real life, you know, so I really like that. This book basically follows a 12-year-old girl named Ada, and for all of her life she has been homeschooled by her father, who is a very renowned scientist that works at the BIT, which is the Boston Institute of Technology, I think. I don't know. But so she's grown up surrounded by like his colleagues and she's always talking with them about like research. So she's a very intellectual young lady, and she's very used to this kind of like computer technologically based environment. There's a lot of references about artificial intelligence because this time is kind of the beginnings of when more advanced computers are coming into the world. But basically this story kind of surrounds the dynamic between Ada and her father. Her father actually has Alzheimer's, so he's kind of slowly losing his mind. It's a very heartbreaking story. Basically, a lot of secrets kind of resurface during his decline, and Ada is kind of forced to kind of uncover these secrets and kind of learn about his past because he's a very mysterious fellow. And yeah, I highly recommend it, especially if you're into technology or if you're more of a sciencey person. This book is really good. The next book I got was a very spontaneous purchase, and it is Elias Grace by Margaret Atwood. I saw the trailer for this because it's becoming a Netflix series, so I wanted to read the book before watching the TV show, as one does. I also thought it was really funny that Netflix was coming out with like a show based on one of Margaret Atwood's books when Hulu came out with like The Handmaid's Tale. I don't know, it was just like really funny to me. This book is actually based off of real events surrounding the Elias Grace murder. Apparently she murdered like 4 people and she recalls none of it, so it kind of follows through that entire process of finding out the truth. Some people say she could be crazy or she's like flat out lying, but I think this takes place in like it takes place in 1843. I thought it took place in like the 1900s or something. But yeah, that's really interesting. I've been wanting to get more into historical fiction. I haven't read one in a long time. So yeah, I feel like this would be a really good book to read. I don't think I'm gonna get to it soon because I have a lot of books that I want to read like right away. but this one's definitely on my TBR in the next coming months. The third book I have here is The Strange and Beautiful Sorrows of Ava Lavender by Leslie Walton, and I'm really excited about this book. It's a magical realism book, which is exactly what I wanted right now. This was actually the book that I was planning on reading first, but The Unseen World came before this one and I had nothing to read, so I just read that first. But I'll read this next, and look at this cover. It is so beautiful. It's kind of matte, but like the gold details are like, oh, it's so beautiful. And the spine is also really beautiful. It has like the main character's name, which is Ava, and the little golden feathers, which I guess is kind of like a symbol in the book. Basically, it follows 3 generations of women, and I believe that they're some kind of magical creature. It says here that the main character, Ava Lavender, is a girl born with wings, which is really interesting. I have no idea what this book is about, but it seems really good, and I just want to read it. That's all I have to say about it. The fourth book I have here is This One Summer by Jillian Tamaki and Mariko Tamaki. I already mentioned this book in my September favorites because I have already read this book. It took one day because it's a graphic novel. Sneak peek. I bought this book purely because of the artwork. I am really getting into graphic novels. The only graphic novel that I really fell in love with was Smile by Raina Telgemeier. But I really like that book. I read that book in like 6th or 7th grade, I think. This book gave me a lot of those vibes, but it is very different. This is a very teen adult book. There's a lot of swearing and like kind of themes that I don't think would be appropriate for young readers, but I still like the artwork anyway. The next book I have here is We Have Always Lived in the Castle by Shirley Jackson. Right off the bat, I noticed that there's 2 kind of quotes by Donna Tartt and Neil Gaiman, and honestly these 2 are one of my favorite groups of authors, so I definitely have high hopes for this book. It's a murder mystery, I think, and that's all I know about it. But I just picked it up because I feel like it'd be really appropriate to read during this time since it's Halloween season. I'm not really into thrillers or horror stories. I'm literally the biggest chicken. I'll get scared at anything, so this is kind of the extent that I feel like I'm going to go to in terms of like reading scary stories. So it's probably not even scary. What am I talking about? Or maybe it is. I have no idea. The next book I have here is Neverwhere by Neil Gaiman. I actually just mentioned Neil Gaiman because he wrote one of the quotes on this book, but I'm really excited to read this. It gave me a lot of Darker Shades of Magic vibes in that it's about kind of another version of London. I think it's like an underground city that's like that takes place underneath London, and it's full of monsters and saints and like all of these mythical creatures, and that seems so cool. Basically, I think it follows a man who's like a businessman, but he ends up like falling to this world, like this new version of London that he's never seen before, and I think that that's just going to be a cool like contrast, like how he is going to adapt or like adjust to this new world. It looks really good. The one thing I have to criticize about it is the book, the actual physical book, because it's one of those like really small like UK paperbacks that are like really hard to open, and just like I don't like those books. Like my favorite books to read are like the big like floppy ones that kind of just like open by themselves, but these ones like you kind of like have to pry, and I don't know, maybe I just like have to like break it in, but not a fan of this book. It reminds me of like books that I've had to read for school. Like I had to read Macbeth in 10th grade, and it was like this kind of book. It's bringing back memories. The last book I have here to show you is The Song of Achilles, and I am so excited to read this. I'm definitely reading this one right away. Basically, it is about ancient Greece and kind of like the Greek gods, but it has some LGBT aspects embedded in it. I think it follows this young prince named, I don't know how to pronounce this, Patroclus? I have no idea, but he basically befriends Achilles, and they kind of start off with a friendship, but it kind of grows into something more. So I'm really excited to see how that's going to be adapted to this ancient Greek story, because that's not really something you hear when learning about ancient Greece. So I'm really excited to read that, and I think they go on an adventure and there's war, and conflict and a lot of interesting things that I want to read. The quote here says, "Sexy, dangerous, and mystical," which I mean, I'm up for it. Like, why not? So those are all the books that I have to show you all today. Yeah, I'm really excited to read all these books. I'm very, very thankful that I was able to get these books at such a low price. God bless. But yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.